On this episode of Locked On Angels, we'll give you one big reason why the Halos should extend GM Perry Minasian. We're going to talk you through a unique issue with the Halos and the draft, and we're going to force ourselves to share the details of last night's terrible game against the Jays, but also share why this was something that we anticipated. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, it is. Yes, we are. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
It's our third season here at Locked On Angels, talking Angels baseball here with you every Monday through Friday, every single weekday, on your way to work, on your way home from work, while you're getting ready for work. It doesn't have to be around work. You can listen to us anytime because we're on podcast platforms everywhere, and of course, on YouTube, even on some television apps. You can watch us on your big screen. Let's go. People don't call it big screen. Why did I say that? Hey, on today's show, we're going to give you one reason, just one, why the reason is why the Angels should extend Perry Minasian. Now, hear us out before you go typing and commenting. We'll talk about that. And we're going to share something that concerns Mike and I about the Angels drafting that we think needs to be addressed. So we'll get into that conversation a little bit later on. Mike, we need to recap last night's 9-2 loss against the Blue Jays. We'll talk about how it happened, but first we had some comments from Ron Washington before the game, didn't we?
Yeah, he said he wanted to give Logan O'Hoppe, Zach Neto, and Joe Adell a day off heading into today's day off. And he texted them the lineup right before every game. And he said Neto sent back a long message saying that he wanted to play, but Wash felt that rest was best.
I love that so much. I love it. Neto's a gamer, and he wants to be in there every day. And that's a guy I can root for. That's a guy that will always have my support, no matter how good or how much he might be struggling on the field. Always going to support a guy like that.
Yeah.
He texts him back along.
I want to see that text message.
I know.
What did he say? I'd love to kind of think about what he texted him. Like,
Wash, you're making a big mistake.
Reason
1, reason 2, reason 3.
Wash, I had 3 hits the night before. Wash, I'm killing it in the second hole. Wash, I want to play these games. We have a day off tomorrow.
You know what?
I don't understand why the 3 best hitters are not in the lineup. Wash, what are you thinking about? This feels like a Phil Nevin move.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense because look, Neto did have a 3-for-4 night on Tuesday night. And it's not just a matter, sure, you can give these guys rest, give them 2 days off. Sure thing. But here's the problem, Mike. I'll be interested to see what happens with Neto's bat over the weekend.
Yep.
Because the narrative will be that if he doesn't do well, you cooled him off. And look, I have every faith. I have all the faith in Neto that he's going to do well this weekend. But I'm just saying, you're setting yourself up for the narrative that if he doesn't do well this weekend, that's what's going to happen, in my opinion.
Yeah. So if I'm Wash, I'm giving Adell a day off. I'm giving O'Hoppe a different spot in the batting order.
Mm-hmm.
And Zach Neto's playing shortstop, and he's hitting second because we're having a day off today. That's what I'm doing. Right. And so I don't quite understand that. But when I saw that, John, I thought to myself, this is going to be one of those games where they're either going to come out and win 12-0 because they have this B-C team, right? Or they're going to get crushed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was the crushing part that actually took place, right?
Look, we're talking about Tyler Anderson to start out this conversation. 5 2/3, 6 hits, 7 earned runs, 4 walks, 8 strikeouts on 98 pitches. Jeff Fletcher of the OC Register tweeted that this is only the second time in Tyler Anderson's 24 starts that he's allowed more than 4 earned runs this season. Too many walks, too much contact. Too many walks, Michael. Too much contact. That usually equates to a high fielding independent pitching. And what did he do? He gave up home runs. He walked guys and gave up a lot of contact.
Yep.
Just like we said that he would before the trade deadline. So this is the implosion, everybody, that we were talking about. Now, he's not going to fall apart and not do well anymore, but this is the kind of game that we'd been saying all summer long and trying to get him to be traded. This is the kind of game that we knew it was coming because it always happens. It's inevitable. You cannot deny expected numbers because you will always regress toward the mean, or you will always come up from the bottom toward the mean. You're not going to be in a slump forever, but you're not going to outperform your expected numbers forever. This is Tyler Anderson not outperforming those numbers right now.
Right. Yeah. And the defense didn't help Johnny. Top of the 6th. Blue Jays Clement triples off of Tyler Anderson. Then Jimenez pops up to shallow right. Stefanik catches the ball and then throws the ball up the line so Clement can score. It was
he kind of
really ugly play.
He did a nice little dance move around Matt Theis, like, oh, excuse me, Matt, I'm gonna just tag home plate right now, and it was all on that throw from Stefanik. Good throw, beats him, and so Clement was dead to rights if it was a good throw, but Theis had to go all the way up the line, and as he's trying to catch it, Clement just circles right around him, Mike. So, frustrating outing for sure.
The offense was offensive as well, Johnny. Just 2 runs on 3 hits. They had a home run from Theis, and then they had a 9th inning sacrifice fly from Taylor Ward, and that was it. They really didn't do much, and they couldn't really capitalize on anything. Here's an example. Bottom of the 8th, Theis singles, Guillorme walks, Stefanik hits into a double play, Shonowell grounds out, right? And your text to me was, guys literally can't string anything together. It's over before it starts.
It was over before it started. 2 on, nobody out, runner at second and first, right? Stefanik hits it over to third base. Third baseman heads up play, steps on the third base bag and throws across to first. So it wasn't like your typical, all right, well, you got a runner over to third. No. It was, I'm going to get the lead runner and I'm going to get the shore out.
Yeah.
And again, it was over before it started because Shonowell swung at pitch 1 or pitch 2, right to second. That was that. And this is what they've looked like all week long. And even going back in against the Nationals, at least they scored some runs that weren't home runs. And I know they were able to do that in this one too, but it's just, they can't string anything together. They can't take their walks. They can't bring consistency to the plate and hit one after another. Can't even do, productive outs correctly at this point. And look, we've been giving Brandon Drury a lot of grief, and we love to see Stefanik play, but that didn't help either, Mike. This offense has been abysmal lately. Yeah.
And the reality check is, without your best guys, this is what's going to happen, right? And we've also discussed that the second half is going to be kind of ugly, and it doesn't make it easier to watch, however.
No.
And I really just get frustrated with some of the veterans on this team. I know they've been around for a while. I don't know if you want to call them veterans, right? But I mean, Taylor Ward looks bored. Taylor Ward looks bored. And I'm really, it's frustrating as a fan to watch him tippy-toe in left field. There was a play where Vladdy Jr. hit a double the night before. Looked like he could have at least attempted to get that ball. Didn't, right? It feels like he's playing so cautious and so careful and not with some reckless abandon. I know there's history. I understand that. But I look at him a lot as an example of, this is a chance for you to rise to the occasion, my friend. And he just is not doing that and doesn't seem to even want to have a desire to do that.
Yeah. You said there's a history there, yes, of running into walls and getting hurt in the outfield and even being thrown at his head. I know that happened 2 nights ago and everything, just a pitch up and in. But Mike, then he shouldn't be in that situation.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be in left field, right? I mean, put Pilar out there, put Moniak in center, Joe Adell in right. That's just, and Calhoun can play he's an outfielder. Calhoun's been there before too, but he's only DH'd pretty much this whole season, except for couple outfield times and a couple spots at first base, like 1 or 2 games or whatnot.
Yeah.
But if Taylor Ward can't handle the situation, then he shouldn't be out there.
No.
And perhaps they're trying to get him through it, trying to get him over it. Maybe that's the idea there, but you're right. It's Ndipo every play that goes out toward him.
Yep.
And it's really frustrating to watch. There's no urgency. It's a lackadaisical team. Thank goodness for a day off today, because maybe they're worn out from that road trip, but going from the East Coast to the West Coast, not always easy, but it certainly showed on the baseball field. You mentioned Vladdy Jr., and I just have to remind everybody that while you watch Vladdy Jr. tear up the Angels through this series, that Jerry Dipoto, former Angels GM, current Seattle Mariners president of baseball operations and statistics and whatever nerd title they have up there in Seattle, instead of just calling him a general manager, it's his fault that the Angels couldn't make a play for Vladdy Jr. because he spent all of their international bonus pool money on Roberto Baldacchini and spent all that money. Basically, in layman's terms, he disqualified himself from being able to try to sign Vladimir Guerrero Jr. the next year. And then he quit halfway through 2015. So that's the kind of guy who's running the Mariners right now. So part of me, if I don't have any sympathy for the Seattle Mariners, you guys know I'm a huge fan of the Mariners, not. Right. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels are playing the Braves on Friday, 6:38 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels. Coming up here on Locked On Angels, we're going to give you one big reason, just one, why the Angels need to extend Perry Minasian and keep him on as the Angels GM, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Game Time. It's now the authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, and they are obsessed with finding ways to save you money with tickets. You can get last-minute deals on tickets and save up to 60% off, not just with sports, but with concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. They have exclusive in-app flash deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event, and then zone deals where they let you choose the section, and Game Time chooses the seats. All in pricing. This feature shows you the total right up front, and then you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Always the lowest prices, or Game Time's going to credit you 110% of the difference. Plus, with every purchase, you receive Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take all the guesswork out of buying tickets and just have a great time. Let Game Time work for you. Download the app right now. Enter our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And this is Locked On Angels. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. When you're done here, make your second listen of the day, Locked On MLB, with our pal Sully. He's your pal too. He's going to get you covered and make sure you're up to speed on everything going on around the baseball world. Get you ready for playoffs, get you ready for the Fall Classic. It's happening every day on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And the Angels are back at it tomorrow night. Mercifully, they have a day off today. Friday night, 6:38 Pacific time. Catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. Just search Angels.
A lot of discussion about Perry Minasian's contract, and it's supposed to be up at the end of the year. What's going to happen? Will he get extended? Should he get extended? John and I have a conviction that he should be extended for at least one more year.
Right here.
And there's one reason why. Perry knows how to draft ready now baseball players. This is something that general managers in previous years did not do. So let's go through some evidence here, Johnny. First, let's start with Perry's draft. Starting in 2021, he drafted Sam Bachman, number 1 pick, and Chase Silseth, which was an 11th round pick. Both have been in the majors, but we all know that Chase Silseth had some more time. And if it was not for some injuries and maybe moving to the bullpen and starting rotation, he'd probably have a bit more success. But Chase Silseth was the first player in that draft to make it to the majors.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the trend for the Halos moving forward, right?
Absolutely. I think that this is the important part of this timeline is that in 2022, Zach Neto and Ben Joyce were both drafted. They were the Halos' first 2 picks in that draft. Both played in 2023. Obviously, core pieces to what the Angels are trying to put together from 2024 onward. Mike, first pick, 2023, Nolan Shawnuel.
Yep.
He played last year and has improved over this season. In fact, our buddy Jared Timms over at Talking Halos had a great tweet about Nolan's first 19 games and then his next 90 some odd games. And you think that that's going to be the kind of player that he is consistently. I think is the key word there, is consistent. And so he's been up and he's been playing well. 2024 draft included Christian Moore, also the first pick. All indications are that he's going to be here pretty soon. Mike, you think you want to call it this weekend?
I think he should be here.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to say, yes, Christian Moore should be starting on Friday against the Braves. He should be at second base, and he should be starting. I'd put him at maybe 6, 7 in the lineup just to start, and then we'll see what he does. But I think he should be here. Now, when we talk about those players, John, they have had a small to significant impact on the big club. But this is something that the previous GMs and their drafts, they weren't able to accomplish this, John. So here's just a few examples, all right? So let's go to Billy Eppler and the Billy Eppler years. We'll start in 2016, his first year drafting. Drafted Theis and Brandon Marsh, 2 pretty decent players. Marsh better than Theis, obviously. Theis made it to the bigs in 2019. Marsh made it to the bigs in 2021. So it took them about 3 to 5 years to move up to the bigs. Then 2017, 2 names that people know, Joe Adell, Griffin Canning. Canning made it to the bigs 2 years later. Adell, 3 years later. Both players are making an impact in 2024, but it's taken them about 5 years to have any sort of impact on this major league roster, right?
And to be fair to that, Joe Adell was drafted, age 18 out of high school and whatnot. But Griffin Canning coming out of UCLA is the kind of pitcher that typically you'd see, they did it with Detmers, they did it with Silseth, right? They've got these guys coming out of college, these arms, trying to get them ready now. So yeah, there was a bit. Now, you might even say that, hey, they needed some seasoning, they needed some time in the minor leagues to develop. But when they finally made an impact, that's 2024, 23, right?
Yeah.
That's when they're finally, putting their feet in the wet cement and leaving an impact there. 2018, Billy Eppler drafted Jordan Adams as the first pick. Still hasn't really made an impact in the bigs, and he first made it in 2023, but not really. He's not in anybody's plans, unfortunately. Also that year, Kyle Bradish, Mike, who is now with the Orioles, hurt with Tommy John surgery. Funny how this Tommy John chases former Halos all around the league, because he's not the first former Halo to have to deal with that, but somebody that we gave up so that we could get Dylan Bundy.
Barfin Bundy.
2020, Barfin Bundy. 2019, Kyron Paris and Jack Kohanowitz were 2 players drafted by Billy Eppler. Both have been in the majors out of necessity, not necessarily because they earned it. Kyron Paris, 23, played a little bit earlier this season. Kohanowitz in 2024. Finally, Billy Eppler drafted Reed Detmers. We all know his story. He got drafted in 2020, made it to the majors in 2021. Now that, to be fair, was a Perry call. And you and I have argued that perhaps if Reed Detmers had spent more time in the minors, that things would look a little bit different for his career. Came up, they tried to figure out what they had with him at the end of 21. He figured into their rotation plans in 2022, obviously had the no-hitter, but then was also set down in 2022 after the no-hitter because he struggled so much that he had to go to AAA and fix his slider. So that's a little bit of history on Billy Eppler's picks. Why don't you talk about Jerry Dipoto's picks.
Yeah, your favorite. 2015, he drafted Taylor Ward, and he didn't arrive until the bigs in 2018 and wasn't really successful until 2022, John. 2014, Sean Newcomb was the draft pick, traded to the Braves for Andrelton Simmons, and he made it to the bigs in 2017. And then 2013 was Keenan Middleton, and he made it to the bigs in 2017, 4 years after that. So all of these numbers are an indication that Perry and his team have an eye for major league talent when they're drafting these players.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the reasons why we think the Angels should extend Perry, because, John, I think this is how the Angels are going to win. I think that this is how they're going to be competitive. And this is what they did leading up to the 2002 series where they won the World Series. And even after that, they reaped the benefits of really great drafts and really great players. Erstad, Gloss, Anderson, Salmon. They were reaping the benefits of that. Before that, it was more of a, let's go and sign some free agents. And they had some success, right? And we're not going to talk negatively about Gene Autry at all, because we love Gene Autry. But he was more of a, let's go spend some money. But here's what he did. He spent money in areas that he needed to spend money in, and not just try to pop an attendance figure because he wanted to go and get one of the best players. He didn't sign Reggie Jackson to try to pop attendance.
Yeah.
He wanted to win, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think another wrinkle to this whole thing is the fact that no matter who's in charge as a GM, you're not going to be able to get Artie Moreno to do what you need him to do at the major league level. It comes down to spending on the areas of need, and they either will do it in one area like they did this year with the bullpen. Yep. I mean, they had multiple areas of need, Mike, but they'll do it in one area and think, that's pretty good. We can stop there.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Here's what I'm trying to say. If you want somebody who can circumvent what Artie Moreno causes this team, then it's Perry Minasian.
Yeah.
Because he's had to draft ready now guys, because there's no other way of acquiring good talent for this team. And he's let these guys, flourish or sink. And most of them have flourished. And he's even given opportunities to Billy Eppler guys. And we've seen them flourish, like Taylor Ward for a while, and Reed Detmers for a while. Joe Adell has been picking it up lately. Right. There are guys who are sinking or swimming, and they have the opportunity to figure that out at the major league level. But it comes down to, no matter who's in charge, Artie's always in charge. And if you want somebody who can bring talent to this team in kind of the only way that he's quote unquote allowed to do, then I think you have to give Perry Minasian an extension to allow him to keep bringing talent and even making trades like the Logan O'Hoppe trade, right? You use a Billy Eppler piece to get a franchise player for your future. That's good moves on his part. And again, he's working within Artie's world, Artie's snow globe, and he's making things happen. And that's more than we can say for previous GMs of the Angels.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's America's #1 fantasy sports app. More than 5 million members. Most fun and exciting way to get in on all of the action, watching your favorite sports. And you can turn 100 times your money, win 100 times your money, because it's so much fun with Prize Picks. All you got to do is just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you are locked in. So download the app right now. Use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB. They're going to give you a first deposit match of up to $100. And friends, everydayers, this Saturday, Prize Picks is giving you a free pick. You can take Israel Adesanya to get more than a half significant strike in the title fight at UFC 305. You're going to take more. Take more. He's going to do that. It's free money for you, thanks to our friends at Prize Picks. Join Prize Picks today. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends at Liquid IV. Get hydrated and stay hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. Because baseball and summer go together, kind of like Liquid IV and hydration. Plus, Liquid IV is perfect for a workout, hot days when you're working outside, or even just long work hours when you're feeling a little glum. You're under the bright lights of your office all day. You don't want that. You can get hydrated and stay hydrated because a rundown you isn't good for anyone, including you. 1 stick of liquid IV in 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. Liquid IV provides 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, plus 8 vitamins and nutrients, all in 1 single stick. Great flavors, always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, problem-free is how I would put that. No more dehydration for you and our everydayers with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order when you go to liquidiv.com. Use our code MLB at checkout. Again, liquidiv.com, 20% off your order. Just use our code MLB. Tear, pour, live more, Liquid IV.
John, as we talk about Perry Minasian and his team drafting ready now players, there is a caveat, right?
Yes, I'm glad you brought this up.
There's not perfection. And so those of you that were commenting below and saying, whoa, we're with you. The problem is this, that the ones that have been successful are position players.
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed that not too many of the pitchers, if any, if we want to go that far, have really been successful outside of Ben Joyce, but starting pitching has not been successful. As great as Neto and Shawnuel have been, and as great as Christian Moore has been and has the potential to be, the pitchers really haven't translated into significant Major League Baseball pitchers.
Right.
Why do you think that is, John?
I think that it's a matter of pitchers need more time to get acclimated to MLB. And I think that it serves them right to stay in the minor leagues a little bit longer, work on developing the pitches that they come out of college with. Remember, these are college age guys, 22 years old, maybe 21, maybe even 23. These are college aged guys coming into the system with like 2 good pitches, right? At the minimum. Even somebody like Caden Dana comes in with 2 good pitches, and then you need to let them work on more pitches, develop that 3rd pitch or that 4th pitch. Ben Joyce is a great example. They brought him up last year because they wanted to see him throw 102 because that's what he was doing last year.
Yeah.
But did it translate to success? Not right away. And it's because he needed more time in the minor leagues to develop. And that's where he gets that splinker going. He comes back up. He's working the splinker. He's making it happen. And it just goes to show that at the major league level, yes, you have somebody like Barry Enright helping Ben Joyce and working on that pitch, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it took some time for Ben Joyce to be what he was been able to do all summer long, the 23 scoreless innings or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I think that when you look at what's happened with Silseth and Bachman, I mean, Bachman's been hurt. Silseth is unfortunately hurt. Again, Detmers was a Billy Eppler pick, but he still came up rather quickly.
Yeah.
At the end of 2021. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's worth a look to give Detmers a chance at the big league level, especially in another lost season like the end of 2021 was. And then he went into their rotation plans for 22. That's where I think things might have gone wrong. I think that he needed a little bit more time to develop, maybe the end of 22. I know that, look, pitching is just the hardest thing to come by, not only for the Angels, but even signing free agent pitching is the hardest thing to come by because it's a competitive market every single offseason. So to me, I think it makes sense for Perry's guys that he's drafted as pitchers to take their time. And it seems like I keep going back to the Kai Busch debut in Chicago, and it just looked an awful lot like most of the debuts that we've seen, Mike. The Silseth debuts, the Kohanowitz debuts. I think it takes time for these guys to find out who they are on the mound. And so I think that as much success as the position players have had, I think they need to slow down with the pitchers in particular. Does that mean, and I want to ask you this, does that mean Caden Dana maybe should stay down a little bit longer?
Yeah. In light of what you just said, absolutely. And he's been great. And here's the thing. when Reed Detmers was called up, his minor league numbers weren't like, oh, wow, right?
Not eye-popping, yeah.
No. Same thing with Chase Silseth, same thing with Sam Bachman. I mean, nothing was eye-popping. They really didn't have a long time to give us any sort of eye-popping numbers, let alone any sort of good numbers. Caden Dana's numbers are fantastic. And I think that he needs a new challenge, and perhaps the new challenge needs to be AAA. But I did hear, I think it might have been Mark Gubiza, but there was a baseball guy that said the AA team and the AA experience is more pitcher development, and AAA is more hitter development. And so perhaps Caden doesn't need to move up to AAA. Perhaps he just needs to continue to pitch with the Trash Pandas and continue to do what he's doing, and then move him to the major league roster when he's ready. I do think for the rest of the year, he should stay down there. I think that we don't want to rush him up. I think we have to learn lessons from Silseth, Bachman, and Detmers. I think he should stay. I think if he comes up at all, it's at spring training, non-roster invite. Let him show off like he did in spring training this last year. And then perhaps let him go down, work on some things. June comes around, see where he's at, see where the Halos are at. And then you make a decision, because then he's not pitching the entire year, which he hasn't done.
Yeah.
And you're not getting a bunch of innings behind him with such a young arm. And he's going to then be hungry. Not that he's not hungry now, but be hungrier for the major leagues, because, man, I've been dominating down here for so long, right? And so I think, again, put a notch in Perry's belt. I think him with his number one picks the last couple years, he's been smart getting position players that are ready. And then later on, especially this year, and in the trades that he's made, getting pitchers who have high ceilings, but still need to work through some things, and letting them work through those things at the level that he places them in the minor leagues.
Yeah, it's interesting when you compare hitters to pitchers, because hitters always say that as you move up the ladder of the minor leagues, the game gets faster, right? Everything speeds up. And so that's the adjustment that these hitters are making. With pitching, you have to take what the hitters are doing into consideration, because as a pitcher, every time you move up, well, those hitters are already working on adjusting to a faster game and to a more strategic game. And I sent you this clip, and it just amazed me. But it was two separate videos of Greg Maddux and Barry Bonds, and they're both watching the same at bat. And Maddux says, "Oh, I threw this cutter. Barry fouled it away." And then Barry goes, "You know what? He got away with that cutter. I fouled it. He probably thinks that I'm going to speed up my swing now." Then it cuts back to Maddux, and he goes, "So right here, I'm thinking I'm going to speed Barry up, and so I'm going to throw my changeup down." And then he goes back to Barry, and Barry goes, "So right here, I think he's going to throw the changeup and try to get me to speed." That's what I'm talking about, Mike. It's this mental game of back and forth where these guys are in each other's heads. That's so incredible. And I think that's the big difference between pitching and hitting. And I think that comes a little bit sooner for hitters, especially if they've been in college, because again, pitchers, they still need to develop 2 or 3 more additional pitches to go with the repertoire that they're comfortable with. So I think it's okay to take a little bit more time with pitchers that have been drafted by Perry Minasian.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now make your second listen Locked On MLB podcast with our friend Soli. It's available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. It's also a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.
Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening to today's show, come on over to YouTube, find today's episode, get in the comment section, hit that like button and that subscribe button on the way down. We've been told by other Locked On hosts that perhaps if you subscribe to Locked On Angels in the past, maybe your subscription might have gone away. So just double check and make sure you're still subscribed. YouTube does some weird things every now and then. Mike, I'm really excited for tomorrow's show. What do you got?
Yeah, we got Jake from Locked On Braves crossing over with us at Locked On Angels. And we're going to get you ready for the Braves and the Angels and possibly Christian Moore's debut. We'll talk all about that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Looking forward to that. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Friday. Mike's got nothing to say because he's coughing.